let's start at the top. Main event of the evening, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. His nickname was not Remember the Name for the night. It was Main Event Muhammad.
Ooh, okay,
Main event
switching
Muhammad.
it up.
I was loving it. I was loving it. And, you know, before we get into the controversy, the eye pokes and all that, let's just talk a little bit about the fight. Belal Muhammad, I mean, in the first, minute of that first round, he was charging Leon down, and then Leon started really unloading, getting comfortable in there, started piecing Belal up, really, I would say. I say without a doubt Leon Edwards won that first, correct?
Oh, unquestionably, yeah.
Yes.
I don't think Belal was marching him down, man.
Well, he was pressuring him. He wasn't landing shots. Like, he wasn't exchanging, but he was most definitely pressuring Leon, which I really liked. I was about to text you in this first round, right when the fight started. I am loving what I'm seeing from Muhammad, because he was pressuring the man, getting Leon to go backwards.
I don't know, man. I thought Leon Edwards, I know you're not a fan of Leon Edwards. You've made
No.
This
was the first of that. Let me be specific. This was the first 1 minute of the first round.
Oh, okay.
After that, things completely changed.
Right, because Leon Edwards looked really good. His combinations looked good. He almost ended the fight. He almost had a fight-ending sequence. I mean, I thought he looked great in that first round.
Yeah, he looked good. Dude, that head kick was nice.
But you know what? Credit to Belal Muhammad, because that head kick would have knocked
anybody out, right?
But Belal kind of just walked. I mean, he was wobbling. His legs were there, or weren't there. But
and recovered really nice. And then they exchanged in the clinch, and Belal looked extremely strong in the clinch, dude. He's instantly reversed that position, got Leon up against the fence. Didn't last the longest.
No.
But I was impressed with that, especially after just getting rocked by a massive head kick. Yeah. Okay. Second round. Leon was looking good again. Was it the first round? Was the first eye poke? It was the first round, I believe.
Yeah,
I think it would have
had to have been.
It was the first round, and I remember texting you, like, why didn't they give Belal 5 minutes? You know, usually you get 5 minutes. It didn't even ask Herb Dean. Like, no offense to Herb Dean, we'll get into him later, but he didn't even ask Belal if he was ready. He kind of just went, okay, start fighting.
Well, I think because Belal was initiating, like, hey, I'm ready. Let's go.
Body language.
Yeah, his body language. His eye wasn't fluttering or blinking a bunch. So I figured that he looked at him and said, okay, this guy wants to fight. He obviously doesn't want his 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that one was all that big a deal, honestly. But that second eye poke,
well, rough. I think the first one on camera, like, if you look at it, it probably looks worse because it actually went deeper. But it was the second one that did the damage, right? That second glancing one, dude, it went inside of his eye socket. I don't know if you guys have seen that picture. If you haven't, go look it up. Guys, there is a close-up of that picture. His finger went inside the eye socket, and it looked like his nail must have scratched right across the eyeball itself.
Oh, absolutely. He definitely has a scratched cornea. No doubt about that. But as Bisping was saying on the broadcast, he did not believe it was going to be a detached retina or anything like that. So... And I think from what Leon Edwards was posting, I mean, obviously it hurts and his eye is swollen, but I think he's going to be okay. I don't think there's any long-term damage.
Well, Belal has already given us an update. He said there was no permanent damage to the eye. He says he's already getting vision back, but it's, fuck, dude, that's a scary situation. That's every fighter's worst nightmare. No one wants to go blind. Well, Bisping went blind. What's his face? Not Jeremy Stevens. Nick Lentz just retired a few weeks ago because he went partially blind in an eye. It's a scary game.
Well, let's talk about the reaction from Belal Muhammad. I mean, the way he was acting, I understand there was so much emotion for this man. This was his first main event. Years ago, he thought he deserved this position. He finally was able to be put in an opportunity to capitalize on a main event, on a pretty big fight night, I would say, against number 3 in the world. Yeah. And, to get eye poked like that, his emotions were wild. And that, as a fan, is what was really scary for me. Because watching that, I couldn't tell. There were times where I could tell, but there were some times where I was like, oh my God, did I just literally watch a man lose his eye?
Well, some people thought his eye was going to be out of his socket.
Well, that's what I thought. And I said, or is it him, understanding the severity of what's going on, knowing that he cannot continue this fight and letting his emotions take the best of him?
Well, he really started crying the second he tried opening the eye the first time.
Yep.
And you could tell he was blind.
And that's the thing.
He didn't see anything.
And I didn't know what he was crying about. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if it was he's blind or if, first main event and it ends in a no contest. But I think it was kind of a combination of both.
Absolutely.
I think if you can't see out of your eye, you think, oh shit, did I just lose sight of my eye forever? Yeah. I've had people that I know get LASIK and they say, the first 4 or 5 seconds you open your eyes, you can't see anything. And the doctors will tell you that, but they say it's the scariest 4 or 5 seconds of your life. So, I mean, imagine being Belal Muhammad, getting your eye poked like that, and not knowing if you'll ever see out of that eye again.
Dude, think about it. Every 2 months, I would say, I listen to the Bisping podcast religiously, by the way. Every 2 months, Bisping has to go, hey, man, let's take a 15-minute break. My good eye is fucking with me.
Right.
He's terrified of going blind, and that's a real fucking thing. He might, there's probably a good chance he loses full eyesight. 100%.
Oh, that's so...
Isn't that scary? Because he's already detached. He only has one eye, by the way, guys. Like, he literally has one fucking eye. And that eye is going out. It's scary, dude. It's a scary reality of the sport. I mean, you cannot take trauma to these vital organs like that.
No.
You just can't. But it's part of the game, really.
It is part of the game. And then, you kind of ask the solution. I mean, what is there? Can the UFC do a better job of getting gloves? Because I know Trevor Whitman. I watched that podcast with Trevor Whitman and Justin Gaethje, and don't quote me. I want to say it was about a year and a half ago, roughly. They're on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's talking about these gloves he invented.
Yes.
And he's going over it step by step and how naturally you can't keep your hand up like that.
It curves your fingers
naturally.
Like the Pride gloves.
Exactly.
Back in the day. And that's all everyone's talking about right now is we need new gloves. We need new gloves. We need new gloves. But at the same time, it's like, I agree, we do need new gloves. But at the same time, you're in control of your own weapons. Just don't poke people in the eyes, guys.
Yeah, easier said than done.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. But you're in control of your own weapons. Like, I don't know what else to say. It sucks.
I'll ask you this. Are you in control of yourself when you see a giant cougar in the middle of the street and you don't know what to do and you freak and you flinch, right? Like these.
If I trained every single day to fight a cougar, yes.
But no, you wouldn't. You would still
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like you're training to do this. So.
No, I totally disagree because like you can't override instincts, right? Like you're always so naturally your reaction if someone comes in might be to push. And I understand your point. They are professionals. They should be a lot better than most. But what I'm saying is in this sport, it will never be perfect.
Yeah.
It's just there's too many variables in this sport. Way too many variables. And like if a guy's coming in and that eye poke was clearly not intentional. This was not a deliberate knee to to a downed opponent. This was a completely unintentional eye poke that you could tell irritated Leon Edwards too at the fact that it even happened. I mean, this was such a huge fight for him, and to have it end it was a huge fight for Belal as well, but to have it end this way, like it's just so unsatisfactory.
Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. But I mean, if he would have poked him in the eye 6 times, would we still be saying it's unintentional? I mean, maybe. DC poked Stipe in the eye, I think, like 6 or 7 times in that trilogy. And I mean, eventually we have to do something. I say do the gloves. It's the easiest work. It's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
The fact that we are using equipment that we started off with, 12 years ago? Was the first time we started using those? Not even. Maybe longer. Maybe like 15, 18 years, something like that. We haven't changed. Nothing has changed. And that's one of my biggest frustrations with this sport. Like, dude, you know how many eye socket injuries we would be avoiding? How many eye pokes we would be avoiding? Think about how many times you see people getting ruptured eye sockets, ruptured faces. Safe Northcutt had to get face surgery because his entire face got fucking rearranged. His skull almost caved in. Like, these gloves, and I'm glad you brought them up. Trevor Whitman's gloves, he was dropping bowling balls on them and it was killing the impact.
Yeah.
You take a bowling ball, you drop it on the UFC gloves, it bounces a foot in the air. Mm-hmm. It's crazy that we aren't evolving in these ways.
Well, and for all the great things that the UFC has accomplished and all the evolution of the sport in the last 25 years, why are we so far behind with these gloves?
It's weird.
Is it a patent problem? Do they not want to pay the big bucks to get these things better? That's for me the confusion.
When Trevor Whitman was on Joe Rogan, he said that Dana loves him. Dana wants the gloves.
Yep.
He wants them to be the official UFC gloves. But then everyone at the UFC, all the shareholders, the top brass, the people in these boardrooms meetings are going, we have to own the glove. You have to give us the patent. We have to own the gloves. Trevor Whitman, this is not your glove. And then Trevor Whitman goes, fuck you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as he should. I mean, he has principles. Like, it's his glove. It's his invention.
It's his design.
His
patent,
evolution. Yeah. He shouldn't have to sell the rights to the glove. Like, that's ridiculous.
And now, because of this strictly, I would say, business decision, I mean, it's not a safety decision. I'll tell you fucking that. It's definitely not a safety. It's a business decision. Because of this, now we're putting literally people's eyesight in jeopardy.
Right.
I don't like that at all. It really bugs me.
Yeah.
It really bugs me. And then I have to ask you this. should Leon Edwards have been disqualified?
No.
I disagree.
And I know you disagree, so I'll let you pitch your side of the argument first.
I see no difference in an unintentional eye poke than an unintentional knee to the head. I think the Eric Anders fight, we'll get into that later, I think that should have been a DQ. Hardy got DQ'd for the exact same thing, unintentional knee. Just last week, Jan got DQ'd for the exact same thing. Unintentional knee? I mean, I guess the big difference is between that is the referee literally walked up to Jan and said, hey, he is a grounded opponent. And then he threw the knee still. Language barrier, I know. But it doesn't make sense. I feel like there's no consistency, and that's the one thing that I really want, is I want a consistency, and we're not getting that. And why is it up to the ref? It's 100% up to the ref to whether it's a DQ or a no contest.
Okay, so that's a lot of questions wrapped into one, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to start this.
Yeah. It's a lot. It is a lot, and it's a weird thing. It really is.
This sport, there are so many variables in the sport. Okay, so like when you look at the Leon Edwards eye poke, you could clearly tell that was unintentional.
Same with the Eric Anders knee.
Okay,
right? I would say that's unintentional,
right?
Same with the Jan knee. I would say that was unintentional. But
there are differences with officiating, and this is why this is up to the ref. Because if a referee tells a fighter, your opponent is ground, do not throw a knee, and then you throw a knee, even if that was considered quote unquote unintentional, you still broke the rule, which the ref had already told you that your opponent was grounded. In this scenario, when there's a scramble and an eye gets poked and it's unintentional, someone should not get DQ'd for that, because that is clearly not the intention of what you're trying to do, and there's no warning or anything. Now, if Herb was the one reffing the Leon Edwards fight, if he had stepped in the first time in the eye poke and it was a severe eye poke the first time and then the second time, I think that is grounds for a DQ, absolutely. But in this scenario, the first eye poke was literally nothing. Like, Belal was fine right away.
I mean, a knuckle deep isn't nothing, my guy. I mean, I'm not trying to disagree with you. Belal did recover right away, but a knuckle deep, like, he did get warned. Get warned, and then he fouled again. Illegal strike, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I guess
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I guess you do make a case, but again, like, you have to look at the intentional. Like, there was no warning from the ref. There was no nothing. I mean, yeah, I guess in the first round, but that happens in the sport all the time. I mean, what are we going to do? DQ guys?
I don't like that it's up to the ref. I think it needs to be up to more than just one person, in my opinion. I say maybe bring the judges or somebody. I don't know how. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to come up with a good solution. You know, I mean,
right.
The rules are still evolving to this fucking very day, so it might change. You never know. I just wish there was more people, because I hate to say it, like, refs have biases. I mean, fucking Greg Hardy got no warning. He fucking kneed a guy in the head while he had one knee down, just like Jan did, just like Anders did. And the freaking Dan Murgliata was sitting there talking about how Greg Hardy is the biggest piece of shit in the world for throwing that strike, and DQ'd him instantly.
Yeah.
There was no warning beforehand. He had no talk about this beforehand. It's just up to the ref. And, you know, if the ref don't like you, he's going to DQ you. So it's a weird situation, I guess.
So how do we fix this?
I don't know. That's the biggest problem. Is I could sit here and complain about all the problems, but if fucking with no solution, it's like, what do we do?
Right.
Now we're just sitting here complaining into a microphone, you know? It's interesting.
It is interesting. I mean, yeah, it sucks. Like, if we were to get the gloves that Trevor Whitman had,
this wouldn't be on the table.
No, it would solve a lot of problems.
Absolutely.
But again, that's not a road that the UFC is obviously going to go down, because they want to own it. They want to make $1 billion off of it, yada, 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 corporate greed. We get it, right? Yeah. I mean, just like any other fucking company in this country. So now the question remains, like, what is the other solution? What is next? I mean, do we make it super strict, where if there is a fight-ending sequence that is unintentional or not, do we start DQing every single time? Because that could get really tricky.
Yeah.
Someone gets their eye poked, they're like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm going to win by disqualification. That's going to help me. I fought around, you know. What if a guy's losing and he just barely gets his eye poked, you know, in like a scramble or something, and he's like, oh, and he starts faking it because he knows he's going to win by DQ.
I mean, fucking, that's a real problem that we have today.
Yeah.
That's a real problem, and it happens.
I don't know how to fix that problem. Yeah. I do actually hear your point. You actually made a really good argument on consistency. You know, the examples you used, you're very right. Like the Greg Hardy, he didn't get any warning or anything like that, and they DQ'd him. They called him a disgrace, a piece of shit. Dan Murgliata.
Everyone in the world was talking shit on that man for that.
Absolutely,
and I get it. Like he has the crazy past and all that, but it's like he was a fucking rookie. Like he had been training 2 years and he fucked up. That's all he did. He fucked up, and it cost him, and it should have. But like I'm saying, you're right. Consistency. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. And honestly, man, I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. That sucks. I feel bad for Belal.
We didn't come up with a solution, but we can complain about it.
It happens, you know. And there's so much to talk about. Let's move on.
Let's talk about their future real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's going to happen here. Because, you know, Leon Edwards in the post-fight was talking about how he wants the title shot.
Yeah.
And I believe he even apologized. He's like, sorry, Belal. But
he did, yeah. In person.
I need the next title shot. But, you know, it really does suck for Leon Edwards because it's like the guy is not wrong, but under these circumstances, it's a hard argument to make. And I think that's where I'm at. He's not wrong, but under these circumstances, it's a really hard point to make, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So what is next? Does Leon Edwards take on Belal Muhammad in a rematch in 4 to 6 weeks from now? Or do we just move on from this fight?
To be honest, I think you have to move on from the fight, and I hate to say that because I am a huge Belal Muhammad fan, and I think he does deserve the rematch, but the chances of Leon signing that fucking contract is slim, I would say. I don't think Leon Edwards gets the title shot. Unfortunately, you're right, he deserves it. And it's hard to say that because in this sport, no one deserves anything. I've learned that the hard way. You know, I mean, how many people have deserved title shots and not gotten them?
A lot.
Way too many.
I mean, you can literally look in all technicality from a purist standpoint. Glover Teixeira deserved the title shot over
Tony Ferguson.
Yeah,
Aljamain Sterling.
There's a ton. Yeah, for a very long time, Aljo. So
yeah, it's just
it happens.
No one deserves anything in this rough sport.
You could almost make a case for Robert Whittaker again too. He almost doesn't have to fight Paulo again.
Yeah,
but he's going to. So
yep. Savage.
Nothing is guaranteed in this sport, that's for sure.
On to Leon Edwards. I don't think he signs the contract with Belal. Belal is calling for that rematch. He already came out and said, you know, Leon's being soft. Like, dude, you can't just walk away like that. You're not getting a title shot like that.
No, he's definitely not.
He says, run it back, dude. I fucking showed up. I fucking showed up in 3 weeks' notice. I was there to fight. I was just getting started. Let's run it back.
And he makes a good point, and I totally understand where Belal Muhammad is coming from. Dude, if this was your first main event ever, and it ends like this, you want that back. You want that back. I don't care if you're getting your ass kicked for the first round, which he wasn't getting his ass kicked. He was getting beat, but he definitely wasn't getting his ass kicked. So it's like, you want that back. You want to have a full fight, and he deserves that full fight. But the shitty thing that is the reality of this sport is we're probably not going to get this fight.
Yeah, so, and it takes two sides as tango, and any side could just go no.
So who do we give Belal, remember the name, Muhammad? Leon Edwards was number 3. So we got to give him a 6 or a 7. So, and Tyron Woodley's already matched up. Michael Chiesa was on the post-fight table. That might not be a bad fight.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I mean, we just say it every fucking time we talk about this division, we're like, that guy's not going to fight that guy because he's not fucking high enough rank.
I know. I really feel like this is one of my favorite divisions, but it's one of the most frustrating divisions in this sport or in this organization because they just don't want to fight each other. And like, it takes so much to match these guys up. And I'm like, what are we fucking doing here? We're talking about number 6 and number 13 and we can't get a matchup because we don't think that's going to happen.
Yep.
Like,
it's the Belal Muhammad fight's way harder to make. I say you do the winner of the Tyron Woodley Vicente Luque because they're going to sign that contract. They're going to sign that contract. Yeah. No one above them probably is, unfortunately. Nope. Stephen Wonderboy already wants a title shot. Leon, he's not getting a title shot. He's not. Usman's going to fight George.
Yeah.
Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, or Colby Covington. It's the only fights to make. Number 1 contender fight.
I have a question for you. Do you think... And don't get me wrong, I've talked a lot of praise about Kamaru Usman, but I'm just curious to get your take on this, okay? Because I do wonder at times, what is it about Leon Edwards that whenever he gets brought up with Kamaru or anything like that, like that's not even a discussion. That has never even been a discussion for a title shot. He's won 8 fights in a row.
It's because it's his worst matchup.
I know, but don't you think as like a president, like Dana, would want that matchup? Because that would be such a fun and intriguing fight.
If I'm Dana, I want the Gilbert Burns. I mean, not a Gilbert Burns. I want the Usman Masvidal fight. It's most money.
Yeah, I know.
That's way I'm looking at dollar signs the entire time. You know, it's Dana White.
I know. It's just like fuck. It's so annoying. It's so annoying because it's like I don't want to see that fight again. Everyone knows how that fight's going to take place.
Yep.
I just feel like it's kind of a. I hate to be this negative about it because I'm going to watch it, but I almost feel like it's a waste of time because we all already know who's going to win.
I absolutely 100% echo.
Like this is one of the most for sure fights that I'm just like, okay, like I'll watch it for as long as it lasts, but I know who's going to win. So it's like, I guess there's no thrill as a fan being like, you know, when we see like a massive fight, we're like, God damn, we don't know who's going to win this fight. Like this is a pick 'em fight. That fight, you're just like, okay, Kamaru Usman. I'm going to literally put everything I have in church coin on Kamaru Usman.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to lose that fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Unless, I mean, look at it. If he decided to stand with Jorge Masvidal, then it makes it way more interesting because he did just knock out Gilbert Burns, who everyone thought there was no way Usman was going to stand with the man.
Right.
So his striking's improving. He's with the best coach in MMA, I would say, with Trevor Whitman right now. So you never really know, but I agree. 100% echo that sentiment. I'm not interested in that fight.
No, I'm just not.
Yeah, let's move on. We already spent 20 minutes on this main event. Wild. So no contest, so no church coin bets.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But we don't lose them, don't gain them. It's like a push.